Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Tiana Chanell Creates. Today we are making something a little different and I think this one turned out really fun. I'm going to show you how I made the 16-ounce plump Halloween tumbler, but I'm also testing out these acrylic paint markers from Tisoso. They reached out and sent me a set to try, so this video is going to be a little more marker heavy than my normal tumbler videos because I really wanted to see what they could do. And I'm going to tell you now, I was actually surprised by these. For the tumbler, I started with a 16-ounce plump tumbler from the Tipsy Magnolia. I prepped it and painted it with Dixie Belle bonding gauze. I created the Halloween design in Silhouette Studio, then cut my stencil using Cricut stencil vinyl in my Cricut. I'm also going to add the design to my website, so if you want to recreate it, check out the description below. Now let's get into these markers. Tisoso sent me their 48 color acrylic paint marker set. And my first reaction when I opened it was, wait, there's 48 of these? I'm used to seeing acrylic marker sets with maybe 8 to 12 or a handful of basic colors. This set has 48, and what I immediately liked was that it wasn't just 48 random colors. There are different shades within the same color families, which ended up being perfect for what I wanted to do with this tumbler. They also included a color swatch sheet, so throughout the video you'll see me testing the colors before I put them on the tumbler. I definitely recommend doing that because the color on the marker barrel isn't always going to tell you exactly what that paint is going to look like once you put it down. The markers have a flexible brush tip that can give you anywhere from about a 1mm lineup to around 8mm depending on how you hold the marker and how much of the tip you use. I really like that because I could get into the smaller areas of the stencil but also turn the marker and cover larger sections without constantly switching tools. Another thing I noticed pretty quickly was the paint flow. These use a direct liquid system with automatic ink control, so once I got the marker going, I wasn't constantly pumping the tip trying to get more paint out. The paint came out pretty consistently and I didn't have a lot of that random flooding where suddenly you have a puddle of paint in the middle of your project. And if you use paint markers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For this design, instead of removing the outline portion of the stencil, I did the opposite. I kept the outlines and saved these areas for the end. With this particular design, I thought that would make everything easier and give the cleaner sections to work with. Since I was testing 48 colors, I figured we might as well use some color. I didn't want a traditional orange, black, and purple Halloween tumbler. I wanted this thing bright. For the spiderweb, I decided to create an ombré rainbow effect. This is where having all those shades really came in handy. For example, instead of using one purple, I used 3 different shades of purple. Then I did the same thing with the blues and the other colors as I worked my way around the web. Yellow was really the only section where I didn't use several different shades. And I decided to leave the outlines of the spider web white. There was already so much color happening that I felt like the white background would actually brighten up everything and keep the colors from blending together visually. Once all of the painted sections were finished, it was time for the rhinestones. I started rhinestoning the outline of the spiderweb using SS8 Mirage White Opal. As I got closer to the area where the design splits, I stopped. I decided I wanted the side of the design outlined in SS8 Neon Pumpkin instead, so I stopped working with the white, outlined the orange section with Neon Pumpkin, and then went back and finished the white outline. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me rhinestone this entire tumbler because we would be here all day. I'll link some of my other rhinestone videos below if you want to see more of that process, and I'll also list all the rhinestone colors I used to create this rainbow spider web. But there is one part I want to show you because this ended up being another really good test for the Tisoso markers. When I created the original design, I planned on putting SS30 rhinestones inside these purple dots. The problem, my dots were too big, and I didn't realize it until I got to this part. I could have filled the extra space with smaller rhinestones, but I really didn't want to do that. I wanted one SS30 stone sitting in the center of each dot. So time to improvise. I grabbed one of the green Tisoso markers and colored directly over the purple dots. And this is where I was impressed. The green actually covered the purple pretty well. You could still see the original circle underneath, but in this case that was perfect because now I basically had a placement guide showing me exactly where each SS30 rhinestone needed to go. So instead of my mistake ruining the design, I used it to my advantage. I added my glue, placed the SS30 neon purple luster stones directly over those circles, and then fill the remaining space with mocha lime opal. That little accidental experiment also showed me something I probably wouldn't have tested otherwise. These markers aren't just good for starting a design, I could actually use them to make adjustments and cover areas where I changed my mind. For somebody like me who's constantly changing something halfway through a project, that is very useful. The Tisoso markers are water-based, and according to the product information, once they're completely dry, they're waterproof on most craft surfaces. They are also made to work on pretty long list of materials, including canvases, wood, glass, fabric, ceramic, metal, plastic, paper, rocks, and even pumpkins. So these definitely aren't something I would only use for tumblers. I already have some ideas for other projects I would like to try with them. And now here is the finished tumbler. I love how bright this turned out. It still gets Halloween, but it's a colorful Halloween, which is more my speed. And as far as the Tisoso markers go, I really enjoyed using them. They sent these over for me to try, but my opinion is still my opinion. And I hate to even say this because I used Posca markers forever. I think I like these better than my Poscas. For me, the biggest things were the number of colors, having multiple shades within the same color families, the flexible brush tip, the coverage, and how smoothly the paint flowed while I was working. And being able to grab a marker and fix those purple dots without pulling out paint in a paintbrush, that definitely earned some extra points. If you want to check out the Tisoso Acrylic Paint Markers for yourself, I'll have the set I use linked in the description below. And let me know in the comments what you think about the finished tumbler. Would you have gone with the bright rainbow Halloween colors, or would you have it kept traditional with orange, black, and purple? And if you want to see me test these markers on another project, let me know what you think I should try next. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.